She's a leader, entrepreneur, an organizer, organizational consultant, executive coach with experience across many industries. Her zeal, her persistence, focus on strategy and execution has made her highly recognized by her peers and community leaders. Welcome, Dolly.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to be here and to have this much of interest in the topic that is very near and dear to me. I must say that this is a very timely topic. I had just come back from two conferences in San Francisco, and the first one was with all kinds of physicists from all over the world, mathematicians, trying to look at how do we link spirituality and the way that the physicists can understand the universe. So it's called Science and Non-Duality, and it's amazing how everything is converging. So my topic today, I hope when you leave here you have a better sense of why it's important to have integral living or conscious living in terms of integrating between all the intelligences that we have. It's all inside us. How do we bring it out and make the best of it? Because in executive, all the upper CEO managers I have been in contact with, they're all very interested. I always know when I'm hitting on the nerve, because I would talk to people, and as I continue to talk, they say, "Can I have your business card?" That's when you know that they are interested in finding out more about it. Now, as for the nonprofit organization here today, for me this is even a more sweeter spot, because most of the time you're already there. That's why you do what you're doing. So I serve in several boards too, and for me it resonates. So the model that I use is basically integrating the PQ, we call it, because we started calling Q for all the intelligences. And fundamentally, the most important thing is the physical thing. It's not like in terms of the basic one, I should say. And I will also cover very briefly IQ and spend a little time on the EQ and a lot of time on the SQ. First of all, I'd like to define intelligence. Intelligence has really 2 or 3 components to it. First thing is that it includes a component of innate potential. So think of like even not only the pianist, the little girl practicing here, it requires that you not only have the potential, but that you also work toward your mastery. And there is that part of that adeptness there. And the third thing is that you do have choices so that you can get better at it. You build the skills. So it doesn't just come naturally only. You have to work at it. And that's why I'm going to go into some of the practices that you can have in terms of if you want to grow on your spiritual intelligence later on today. In terms of the physical intelligence, we all know that we're pretty good at this in understanding and measuring it in terms of body weight, heart rate, adequate sleep, exercise, and and this is really important. Without our health, we know we can't do anything else. So for me, as a good example, stretching is pretty important for me because I had some slip disc situation not too long ago, and yet it's such a easy thing to do, and somehow I need to do more and I don't. And this is the kind of intelligence we're talking about. You need to keep doing what you need to do to get better at it. IQ, we spend a lot of time on IQ in terms of our educational system, and our society value this. So I don't need to say a whole lot more than basically we all know what that is. And we also know one thing, in that people with high IQ don't necessarily are the happiest people. Hopefully what we want is, at the end of the day, we want to be able to be happier, to live a fulfilling life, and to be at peace. And that's what the model that I go after speaks to. Many of you in the last few decades, emotional intelligence has been emphasized quite a bit. And the model of emotional intelligence that was really popularized back in the late 90s by Daniel Goleman. He was the one that coined the term emotional intelligence. And it is separated into 4 quadrants. And basically the self-awareness is one of the first steps, the building block for your emotional intelligence. And then there's also the universal or social awareness there that you build up on, and that includes empathy, your ability to relate to other sufferings or compassion. And then there's also the self-regulation component in the emotional intelligence, which speaks to your practice and your work toward inner reflection, and there's a component of their inner motivation. And then, of course, the worldview, the social skills, where you would be developing on your leadership and being inspired and being able to collaborate. So those are the skills that were emphasized in the EQ model. The good news is that we know a lot now from neuroscientists how we can change the pattern in our brain so that we can get the kind of results we want. We do know that beliefs dictate emotions, and we know that also from emotion it generates certain thoughts. And we know also that if we control the beliefs and the thoughts, we can change the emotion. And so there's a loop to that, in feedback loop. And we also know there's also that from thought, it generates the kind of behavior. So, and then of course leading to the kind of outcome that you see and you experience. So basically, what you wanted to be able to do is to develop skills that allow you to change your thought, to change your beliefs in order for you to have the kind of behavior you wish. And then I'm going to move forward to the SQ now, which I will spend quite a bit of time on this, because this is the area that is really more and more recognized. And the model that I use is founded by Cindy Wigglesworth. She developed the thing called SQ21, which I'll go into a little bit more. And this is how Cindy defined SQ. It is the ability, or spiritual intelligence. It is the ability to behave with wisdom and compassion while maintaining inner peace and outer peace, and regardless of the situation. Here is another way of looking at how we have been really focusing our development. We had spent so much time on IQ when it's really using a lot of your left brain. And now this is a very simplistic model. You can really, there's more to the right brain, left brain now than, it's not just left brain that when you're high in your IQ. And then there's EQ, which is more or less on the parallel processing part of your brain. On the right brain, that's where you have all your compassion and your ability to collaborate and be inspiring and feeling peaceful and harmony. All of those values are more or less there. And then, of course, the SQ intelligence is when you integrate and you have a whole brain where you actually processing everything there to allow you to be the best that you can be. Here is the how it fared for us. No surprise to you, right? Like I told you, we developed highly on the IQ side of it, and next to that is the PQ. But look where we really could be using more on is the EQ and the SQ, particularly the SQ. Now, what we know, one thing is that there are certain kind of people, when we run into them, when we know of them, there's something so inspiring about them. And I have a picture here of Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi. and they are just extraordinary humans. So the way to really get into this is to find out what are some of the traits and the people that inspired us, that had that very special thing about them. And these are some of the names that when I had a workshop, I would ask people, who are the people that admire, and these are what come up. And as you can see there, there's the Mother Teresa, there's Nelson Mandela. These are world leaders. As well as some of the philosophers and Joseph Campbell, the amazing Viktor Frankl and Albert Einstein. They have something special there. And but you know what? I wanted to also say that you can also have your mother, your grandmother, your father, your boss, your teacher, your favorite teacher. These are also very important leaders that you admire, because that's how you understand and develop your values and the things that really are important to you. These are some of the additional capacities and or traits that we find in these leaders. And probably you can relate to where you admire, where you feel like, you know, somebody who had any one of these a combination thereof, that you admire them. Does this sound true for you? I mean, yeah? So what the SQ model look at is they're looking at collectively the noblest of traits, the virtues that are behind that. And you know, it's very interesting. One day I decided to Google on the Golden Rule just to see what it says. And I found like 20 different versions of golden rules across all faith, across all philosophy, across all religions. They have their different versions, but there's something that is universal there. And again, love one another is another thing we hear all the time. So one of the things that many of you have taken Psychology 101, have seen the Maslow hierarchy of needs. Maslow basically said that the person fundamentally want to reach their full potential, but they would only be able to do that when their basic needs are met. And so on the Maslow hierarchy, you have on the bottom is basically the clothing and the sheltering and to meet your basic need, and up through that you have safety and security. Then beyond that, then you would be looking for belonging, having families, being loved, and then you move up the ladder with the esteem needs, meaning your confidence. And then so on, all the way up to be self-actualized. That's what he said, but he didn't really go much into the higher self. And so the SQ model would basically strive for getting you where on that top fulcrum there in terms of the self-transcendental state of mind and the higher self. Now, I know one thing, if we're not in the higher self, we might be looking like this guy. And I would admit to you that in my 30s, there were days I looked like that. And even now too. I mean, I was competitive, I was ambitious, and I was high achieving. And in a way, you know, this guy, you wouldn't want to get stuck in the elevator with him. So what do we do here? Well, here's something that, you know we want. We look at this picture of this woman, and we know she has something very, very special. She's wise. She looks peaceful, huh? And she looks like she can be very compassionate. She exudes what I would call the higher self. And so, how do we get there? Well, Cindy Wigglesworth decided to look at those skills that I was telling you about, and she worked on that for more than 10 years, and it was put through a lot of rigorous research and statistical analysis. And I know that each and every one of those skills that she developed, she made sure that they were skill focused and not belief focused. See, in spiritual intelligence, we're talking about that it is faith neutral. So in the SQ21 quadrants of the skills, it kind of built on the emotional intelligence EQ model of Daniel Goleman that I showed you earlier. But it's not like adding more to it. There are some differences. But essentially, the quadrant worked toward getting you to where you can have social mastery and spiritual presence. It does imply that you have to more or less master the first quadrant, which is the higher self, before you really understand the universal awareness. So self-awareness is one of the first steps in transformation. We all have heard of that. Similarly, from self-awareness, I talked to you earlier about the girl that was practicing piano. You have to get mastery, you got to have practice. And that's where a lot of the practices that you hear, from meditation to yoga to do things that really allow you to get inside you and to understand and work on the things that you wanted to work on. And again, that will then build you toward your social mastery too. Here is the 21 skills that that Cindy had, and this is already, I understand it's already on the website, so you can print this off at some other time. But as you can see, it's very specific, and awareness of own worldview, awareness of life purpose, awareness of values hierarchy, complexity of your inner thought. These are skills. And awareness of ego self and higher self that I already mentioned. And then you went on to the universal awareness of interconnectedness and the worldviews of others awareness. Awareness of the spiritual laws. And experience of transcendent oneness. So then from there, it helps you to get to the next quadrant there. You can either go to the self-mastery or the social mastery. You're always working all of that at the same time. But I'll tell you one thing, it does take a lot of work in terms of going from novice to experts, as this boy in the karate was pictured here. And in terms of the skill, I'm just going to take you through how this works. This is skill 5. And in skill 5, there are 5 levels. So let's just say you already got it, that in the assessment there are questions that we ask. And if you already met all the, you passed the questions, you got it right on level 2. And on level 3, you're stuck with a couple of things. And even though level 4, you master it, you're still at level 3, because we do believe that you're going to need to be able to master 3 before it really is healthy and sustainable for you to go to level 4 and 5 to be there. And as most people who do spiritual work, we know that the more we look into something, the more we know what we don't know. And so sometimes that takes us back and may, force us into looking at something deeper and may change the whole thing, because this is a static, this is not a static thing, this is a moving target assessment. I use this in my coaching with my clients because that would tell me where the area that they perhaps want to work on. And again, here's the social mastery. In terms of the social mastery here, earlier when I showed you the pictures of Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi and all those names, every one of those people possess these skills, as you can see there. This is not to be cute here. I guess what it is that, which I took out two traits here, humble and curiosity, like this little baby is. And when you're humble, it allows you to gain a lot of insights. And so if this is a trait that you have not thought of, you may want to consider. I know that when I had a Zen master, I spent 5 full days with him, and at the end of the day there I said, what do you think of all the stuff that I know I need to do? What do you think you would say the first thing that I need to work on? And I was really, really surprised when he told me humility. I didn't think I was, that was, but then the more I think about it, because, when your Zen master tells you something, you kind of like give some thought to it, right? And over the years, I realized that being humble allowed me to really rise, because that would allow me to really listen better. That would allow me to really have more empathy toward people. And along with that, it kind of like kissing cousin there is curiosity, which is the other word I put up there. It's amazing how transformative it is when you want to establish a relationship, especially that you stay curious, that you don't have all the answers, that you really want to know the person. It's really about being present for somebody who you are trying to establish relationship or improve on whatever it is, or maybe resolve the conflict. The most powerful question, perhaps, because I talk about questions, and in terms of your practice, I'm gonna suggest that perhaps one of the things that maybe what you can take home today when you leave here is, of all those traits that I listed earlier, you would ask, what would it take for me to do the same behavior? So it would allow you to begin to ask the questions of what is the most important thing for you, for one thing, and then what is it that you can do? Because so many times we start looking externally and see, what's wrong with the world. And this is a good practice. If you could, again, the emphasis here is me. And another practice that I also want to share with you is you could, when you're agitated, when you're angry, when you're hurt, you can ask the most powerful question, really. This has gotten me out of trouble so many times, is what is the most loving thing I can do right now? You can just remove everything else that's going on and just center yourself and ask that question. And you will be amazed, the shift inside you. The picture here is actually something I also adopt for my website too as well. There's a Zen adage that says, when the bird of enlightenment fly, it needs 2 wings. The wing of compassion and the wing of wisdom. And when either one broke, the bird cannot fly. And so the spiritual intelligence put a lot of emphasis on for you to be able to have both wisdom and compassion so you can soar and fly. I want to do something here today before we leave, if it's okay with you. I'd like to do, since Thanksgiving is coming up, I'd like to do a little reflection on gratitude. Gratitude is one of the greatest practice of increasing in your well-being and spiritual intelligence. But before we do that, it would be a group exercise in a way too. So I think I'm going a lot faster than I thought, and I will leave time for the discussion and questions and answers. But I would like to, if it's okay with you, I would like to do a little gratitude exercise today. So what I wanted is, if you can just relax, and I will guide you through this. Take a deep, close your eyes. Take a deep breath and relax and breathe out. We'll do 2 more of this breath. Take a deep breath. Relax. Take another one, 3rd one. And relax. I'm going to read 3 quotes, sorry. And before I do the 3 quotes, I want you to know that gratitude, as John DeMartini has said, is the key to open the gateway to the heart. And inside the heart is love. When our heart is opened, we feel more love in our life. We feel more inspired, more enthused. Gratitude is the secret. Attitude of gratitude take us to higher altitude. And I'm going to read a quote, and then we're going to do something. The first quote is from Albert Schweitzer. Sometimes our light goes out, but is blown into flame by another human being. Each of us owes deepest thanks to those who have rekindled the inner light. So now I want you to think of a person that best reflects that particular quote. Invite that person to be right in front of you. And if you don't have somebody, just enjoy that quote. Embody that, and maybe something will come up for you in the ensuing days, who this person is, or who they are. And say to this person that you just invited to sit in front of you, say, thank you for showing me the way. And now I'm going to read the next quote. Treasure the one who thinks of you when all others are thinking of themselves. And that's a quote from James Gunn. Again, invite somebody you know who best exemplified that quote. And say to this person, thank you for your helping hand. And the third quote is, those who live passionately teach us how to love. Those who love passionately teach us how to live. And that's from Sarah Brethnell. And again, invite the person who had done this for you and say, thank you for your spirit. And now I wanted to say that I want to thank you for being here with me today. I'm so honored. And this is a time you can also say whatever it is that you want to be grateful to whoever, for whatever.